Hi, my name's Ryan Fowler, and welcome to the Offshore Asset Protection Secrets video series. This is part 2 of the series. A little bit about myself. I'm an asset protection and estate planning and global investing consultant. I have a nationwide clientele. Their net worth ranges from about $200,000 to over $100 million. I'm the co-author of Asset Protection in Financially Unsafe Times, co-authored with Dr. Arnold Goldstein. It is one of the best-selling asset protection books on Amazon.com, and it is the highest reviewed asset protection book on Amazon.com. So let's get started. We're going to talk today about offshore trusts. First of all, what is an offshore trust? We call them OAPTs for short, Offshore Asset Protection Trust. An offshore trust is a trust where there's a trustee, and he lives in a foreign jurisdiction, and a trustee is someone that takes legal title to your assets, and he manages those assets for the benefit of the beneficiaries. And with an offshore trust, normally what happens is you, the grantor, create the trust and put the assets into the trust, give them to the trustee, and you're also a beneficiary of the trust. When you are the grantor and beneficiary of the trust, that's called a self-settled trust. And in most U.S. states, the laws do not allow a self-settled trust to offer asset protection, which is why we go offshore, where the laws in a foreign jurisdiction do allow asset protection for those types of trusts. There are a few states in the U.S. that allow for what's called a domestic asset protection trust, but they're not tested in courts, and there's all sorts of problems because many people that set up these trusts will live in a state that doesn't protect self-settled trusts, and then a court in that state can order say a trustee in Nevada with a domestic asset protection trust in Nevada can order him to clean out the trust, and he'll have to comply. So we prefer offshore, where the trustee is completely outside of U.S. jurisdiction. OAPTs, just so you know, they're tax neutral. You get no tax benefits or disadvantages from going offshore. So that doesn't mean, by the way, that you can't get tax advantages by going offshore, but we use insurance or other tools like that for that. So let's talk about the best OAPT jurisdictions. Nevis and the Cook Islands have the best laws written. I like Cook Islands the best because the Cook Islands, which is just off the coast of New Zealand, which is close to Australia, the Cook Islands jurisdiction actually has a track record of saying no to the U.S. federal government when there was a creditor issue and the U.S. court said, give us those assets. So they have the best track record. There's some other jurisdictions, Panama, Belize, Western Samoa, some people use New Zealand. The track records aren't as good there. Some of those places, English is not the primary language, or even if the trustee speaks English, his staff doesn't, it can cause problems. There's what's called the Pacific Islander Syndrome, which is meaning they're slow to respond and it's not good service. The Cook Islands is very westernized, and it's a very good service, very good infrastructure there. And so Cook Islands or Nevis, but definitely Cook Islands, in my opinion and in my experience, is the best jurisdiction for your offshore trust. So we need to talk about what not to do with your offshore trust now. We're going to talk about two cases, one where things didn't work out well and one where things did. First case is called the Anderson case, FTC versus Affordable Media LLC. The big mistake here is the Andersons were co-trustees of the trust until right before they got in trouble. So if you're a co-trustee, that means you have complete control over all those trust assets, and if you retain that control and all of a sudden you're in trouble, and then you give up that control, so specifically so that the judge cannot order you to get those assets back. Well, in this case, the judge said, I don't believe your charade. I think you still have that power. I don't think you gave it up. And so I'm going to throw you in jail for disobeying my court order to repatriate those assets until you exercise that control. So they spent 6 months in jail. Don't retain that control. Don't be a co-trustee of your trust or have any power to repatriate trust assets, because if you do, it's bad news, and that's what happened here. But here's a good case we're going to talk about now. This is U.S. versus Arlene Grant. The United States government was trying to go after their trust for $36 million in back taxes, and of course this is the most powerful creditor, is the federal government. The trust was set up long before there were creditor problems. Arlene Grant was not a co-trustee or protector. She didn't have that control over the trust. The trust was actually could have been drafted better. It said that she had the power to replace a trustee However, if the trust said if she did so involuntarily, then the trustee can ignore the order, and that's what happened. The court said, told her to replace the trustee. Trustee said no, that's against the language of the trust because she's under duress. And so she did everything she could to comply with the court order. Trustee said no. Assets still stay out of the U.S., and the U.S. judge says, well, what can I do? She's doing all she can. The trustee's just denying my court order, so I won't hold her accountable. And that's how a trust works. The trustee is not in the U.S. court's jurisdiction, and so the U.S. court, if you do things correctly, is basically out of luck. And the trust held up against the most powerful creditor that there could be. So that's a trust that worked versus one that didn't. In the next video, we're going to talk about LLCs versus offshore trust, offshore LLC versus trust. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks. So if you found this inside information helpful, be sure to get the complimentary ebook version of Asset Protection in Financially Unsafe Times, and also get the free video tip series emailed to your inbox, and also find out for a limited time only how you can have a 20-minute consultation with me so I can answer your questions and discuss solutions for your specific situation. You get all this for free. Just go to www.offshoreassetprotectioninformation.com and sign up. I'll see you there.